Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the new supernatural horror film based on a video game that is currently in theaters as well as streaming on Peacock, Five Nights at Freddy's. This was a kind of a sneaky anticipated film for me. I wanted to see this even though I have not played the video games. Let me just put that out there right now. I never played Five Nights at Freddy's. Even though I've watched videos of people playing it, I never played it myself. It looks like an interesting, scary game, but never got around to not watching, but playing it. And I fully recognize the popularity of this game. I know that it is a very popular game, and a lot of people rave about it. But the movie, let's talk about the film that just came out. This film is directed by Emma Tammy. It stars Josh Hutcherson, Mary Stuart Masterson, and Matthew Lillard. This film comes from the good folks over at Blumhouse, who has given us such gems as Megan and The Exorcist Believer, the sequel to The Exorcist, and also the final trilogy in the Halloween franchise. And this is Peacock's, I guess you could say, second foray into a video game property this year. Twisted Metal series that came out earlier this year that starred Anthony Mackie. And the plot of Five Nights at Freddy goes as such. Josh Hutcherson, who stars in this film, he stars as a troubled security guard who accepts a nighttime job in an abandoned family entertainment center where he discovers its 4 animatronic mascots are alive and kill anyone that is still there after midnight. Going off of that premise, it sounds interesting. It sounds awesome. But this is not what that movie is. This, I can see that fans of the video game are not going to like this movie. It is not good. This movie it isn't that good. It is not scary in the least bit. It has jump scares. And it has some effective jump scares, but they're false jump scares. As far as the animatronic mascots, they don't scare you. You know, they're freaky and creepy looking, but other than that, there's nothing really scary about them. And the whole rules that this film sets in place constantly gets broken throughout. And it makes no sense to me. It just doesn't come together overall. What I did enjoy of it, of this film, was the performances of Josh Hutcherson, who plays Mike, and he does a really good job in his role. He does the best he can with it. I love the relationship between him and his little sister. I think their chemistry was great. But the one that stole the show for me was Matthew Lillard, who wasn't in this film a lot, but the times that he was in this film, he stole the movie. And I'm not going to get into spoilers and plot points, but his character is essential, and Matthew Lillard does a awesome job with the little time that he has. As far as the Chuck E. Cheese knockoff of Freddy Fazbear's, the atmosphere there, the set there, just, it was like one hallway and 2 rooms, and it just didn't have that effect that I think they were going for there. And I think they missed the boat. I think they truly missed the boat on making something very interesting here. The plot was all over the place. They had a good story there with the Mike character and his past and what happened with his family. It has nothing to do with Freddy's, but it's just a separate storyline, but yet it's connected. I'll take that back. It did have something to do with Freddy's, but it was so random. It was just random, and the storyline with his little sister Abby, her character wasn't explained. And this is one of those rare instances where you needed to explain what was going on. Uh they had a couple of twists in here that you saw coming from 18 miles away. I mean, nothing shocked you with the twist at the end, the reveals at the end. It was like, okay, I don't know why they waited an hour to tell you this, because I found it out as soon as certain characters came on screen. You knew what their character was there for. It was nothing there to hide it, swerve you, or anything. And it took you out. It will take you out of this film. For instance, the cop in this movie, Vanessa, who befriends Mike in this movie, it's like, what was the purpose of her character? Why was she there? She was just basically there to give expedition, and it was, I mean, a pointless character, a really pointless character, and they tried to do something with her later on, but it overall that did not come together properly. As far as Emma Tammy's direction, I wasn't mad at the direction here. I really enjoyed her direction for the most part. Actually, that was the best part of this movie. You know, her attention to detail, the little subtle hints of memory. That part of the film was great. If it was outside of this Five Nights at Freddy aesthetic, this probably would have been an interesting film. Well, dealing with the Mike character in his dreams, trying to find his brother, who took his brother years ago, and all this here, because that part of the film was great, but it had nothing to do with with the little Chuck E. Cheese place. It was just, oh man, it was, when they went to those scenes, you was engaged, and then it took you out when we got to not five, but Freddy's Fuzzbears, and it just did not come together. But her direction and attention to detail, like for instance, there's scenes, his flashback scenes or his dream sequences when, the drink spilled on the table, and the blinking light bulb on the sign and stuff like that. It was just subtle little things that she did that were interesting, but it was two different movies. It felt like two different movies. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy has some, the right elements for a family horror film, something that you can watch with the whole family, kids and adults and all that. There isn't any, derogatory language or coarse language or blood and gore. There's none of that in this film. This is PG-13, and I think that's why a lot of the fans of the video game was upset, because the game is kind of dark. So to sum up this review, all I can say is Five Nights at Freddy, it was disappointing, even though I didn't have high expectations for it, but it still let me down. It wasn't, it, it just didn't entertain. At the end of the day, I can live with a horror film that isn't scary if it's entertaining, but this didn't entertain me, other than a couple of performances, maybe a scene or two that were interesting. And I did like the flashback scenes. I did like the dream sequences and the detective aspect of the Mike character trying to figure out who kidnapped his brother many years ago. That was interesting, but at the end of the day, the results were flat and generic. So I really got to give this a letter grade of a D minus. I thought this was just boring. It was a boring movie. And I feel bad for Josh Hutcherson because I am a fan of his. I haven't seen him in much things, as far as starring in, and this was his starring role for him, and he did a good job. It's not on him, but I would like to see him in more things. I think he's a capable actor, and I can see him leading certain properties if given the opportunity. But this one wasn't it. So I would like to know: have you checked out Five Nights at Freddy's? Are you a fan of the video games and saw the film and was like, or did you see the film, being a fan of the games and enjoyed it? Maybe I got it wrong. Like I said, I never played the games, but from the little I did see of the game, it is night and day from the film. But I know you're gonna have to change up some things, but at the same time, this just did not work for me. But did it work for you? Let me know by email. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look me up on all social media platforms, the KB Radio Network. Also, subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube. Like this video as well. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Five Nights at Freddy's, currently in theaters as well as Peacock. I want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.